Here I am, moonlighting as an Uber driver, just trying to make ends meet. 3:30 in the morning after driving all day and night, on a Saturday, mind you, exhausted from dealing with the non-stop shenanigans that come with driving drunk strangers from the internet.
Alright, I feel friendly, guys.
Yeah, pop out. Open the door.
No, whoa.
And all I wanted was to drive home in peace and get some rest. When Johnny Law has to get all up in my business for literally no reason. No legitimate reason, that is. And when it happened, I didn't know if this cop that pulled me over did so out of maliciousness or incompetence. But I was almost positive that I did not do what he said I did.
Hey, is why I'm being pulled over?
Yep, you blew right through that stoplight right after the traffic stop that the borough was doing. It was actually red when you went through it.
Oh, are you sure?
100%.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Fortunately for me, I was prepared.
I have a dash cam running, just so you know.
Okay.
And on that note, I'd like to take a second to thank this video's sponsor, Redtiger dash cameras. They have just released the F17 Elite, which is the world's first and only dash camera that records in the car in color, even at night, which for an Uber driver, quality in-cabin recording is paramount. They're actually running a sale right now, so between that and the code EddieDriver, you can get what is normally a $400 camera for almost half off. Link is in the description. I would act fast because that sale will not last long. Unfortunately, at the time of the incident in this video, the F17 Elite was not yet available, so you'll have to forgive the black and white footage. Now, this story starts with an Uber ride. It would turn out to be my last Uber ride for the night. It was one of those rides that drivers remember just because of the randomness of it. Not only was the kid in my car from Arkansas, I don't think I've ever met anyone from Arkansas before, but it was also an escape Uber to remember.
I figured it was a female situation.
A modern walk of shame, if you will. Long story short, in his very funny way of telling it that I wish I felt comfortable sharing, however, my millennial self that remembers a time when everything wasn't broadcasted on the internet can't in good conscience post it without permission, even with his face blurred. But as the way he told it, this kid was kidnapped from the bar by a 41-year-old divorcee, and like most rides of this nature, it was not an endeavor he was proud of. And when he came to his senses, due to a combination of sobering up and, post-coital clarity, he realized that waking up next to this woman was not in his best interest, so he called me. Well, he called Uber, and he got me. Now, I'm not even going to touch on the idea that if the roles were reversed, if it was a 41-year-old man who had just taken home a 22-year-old girl that he just met at the bar, how we'd all have a little different take on the situation. And no, I'm not including these peculiar little anecdotes just to demonstrate the broad spectrum of life that I get to witness as an Uber driver, as a way to segue into a pitch for my book about the unbelievable stories of driving Uber, which is now available as an audiobook exclusively on Audible. The truth is, I know that the Cougar Hunter, or Cougar on the Hunt, however you want to look at it, doesn't even scratch the surface of the kind of crazy shit that I've seen as an Uber driver. The reason I mention this Uber ride is because it is integral to the plot of this story. See, this kid wasn't calling for an Uber to go home. He was calling me for a ride back to his car. And I'm always a little unsure of my role in these situations. It's quite an interesting moral conundrum, if you ask me. At what point is it my responsibility to prevent a drunk person from getting to their car? Is it my responsibility at all? And who am I to judge if this guy is even still drunk? I'm just an Uber driver, you know? I don't know about you, but if my Uber driver ever tried to breathalyze me or give me a field sobriety test before letting me into his car, I'd tell him to fuck off and I just order another Uber. Now for this kid, he was able to have an articulate conversation. He wasn't stumbling or anything when he walked up to my car, and I didn't smell any alcohol on him. And so relatively speaking, compared to the average level of drunk I see, I thought this guy was totally fine. And what's more is, there was ample police presence when we pulled up to the parking garage that I know he noticed. So at this point, it's like, I'm not this guy's babysitter. He sounds fine, he's walking fine, and if he's willing to pull out in front of 3 cops that are literally parked in front of the parking garage, well, then it's safe to assume that he's okay.
Maybe I'll catch you around.
Take it easy. Drive safe.
Hey, thanks, man. You too. Later.
And the funny thing is, I really believe he was okay to drive. But this poor Arkansonian made a mistake that even the most sober among us will make. As I'm sitting there, hoping for one more ride that can get me closer to home, I see my passenger pull out of the garage and pass me. And because the parking garage looks like daytime at night, this poor kid forgot to put his lights on, and he pulled out in front of a cop whose whole purpose here is to sit next to the parking garage and wait for drunk drivers to pull out. And it got me thinking about how our whole approach to drunk driving is insane. And don't for one second think that I'm saying drunk driving is okay. I'm just saying, like, if we really wanted to prevent drunk driving, maybe if instead of hiding in an alley next to a parking garage, I don't know, a cop on foot stood in front of the parking garage and talked to people as they were going in before the drunk person even gets behind the wheel. Or here's another wild thought. If the borough of Westchester wanted to prevent drunk driving, maybe they don't build a government-owned and operated 5-story parking garage across the street from a gigantic 3-story bar. Instead, the government, in all its wisdom, instructs its police officers to hide in an alley next to a parking garage and wait until somebody makes a simple traffic infraction that millions of people make every day without incident, and then arbitrarily enforce it in the hopes of potentially catching them for something more important. Oh, and by the way, we're going to do that by chasing this person in their car with our cars through a walkable town full of drunk pedestrians and other drivers, then conduct a traffic stop while standing in the middle of the road as other potentially drunk, drowsy, or distracted drivers go by. How have we not thought of something better by now? So as I pulled past my poor Uber rider who found himself in yet another unfortunate situation that night, it made me wonder if traffic enforcement is mostly a charade used by police in order to pry into the private lives of mostly law-abiding citizens for the off chance that they can jam them up on something bigger, when another cop, a little further up the road, would do nothing but give me a little more reason to think that traffic enforcement, at least the way that it's set up now, does way more harm than good. And when I saw him in my rear view make a U-turn, an illegal one, I might add, I knew he was going to pull me over. But for what? I had no idea. And the sad truth is, not only have I been pulled over for absolute nonsense before, but I'm friends with enough cops who, after a few beers, have admitted that they basically have the power to pull anyone over at any time they want. Not only is it basically impossible to drive down the street legally, I mean, technically speaking, in most states, including here in Pennsylvania, you can get pulled over for having an air freshener hanging from your mirror, for obstructing the driver's vision. But cops can always claim you are driving recklessly or not maintaining your lane in order to pull you over if they want to. And when it's a cop's word versus a civilian's, well, you know who wins that battle. But despite all of that, I was comfortable with the situation because I had my dash camera running. People underestimate the value of having one of these things. Not only does video footage take away any sort of he said, she said situation, which is a game you never want to play with anyone, but especially a cop. But even more importantly, I've found that by having a dash camera, it is 1,000 times easier to keep my cool. You gotta think, the reason people lose their temper or let frustration get the best of them is because they feel like they don't have control over the situation. But by having a dash camera, you don't need to argue, you don't need to worry about what the cop might say or do. You can simply surrender to the truth. And look, if I made a mistake, I made a mistake, and the dash cam will show that. But if I didn't, I have footage that shows the truth. And for those of you who will ask, the camera I'm currently recommending right now is the Redtiger F17 Elite. It's the world's first and only dash camera that can record in color, in the car even at night. But at the end of the day, I want to be clear, any dash camera is better than no dash camera, to a certain extent at least. You're going to want to stay away from any 3-channel dash camera that costs less than $80 or $100 for the most part. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck with footage that looks like this. That said, part of the reason I love the Redtiger F17 right now, other than the quality, is that with the sale they're running and the code Redtiger gave me, Eddie Driver, you can get the F17 Elite for just a little more than $200, which isn't bad for a camera that usually costs around $400. It's an absolute steal right now. Just to put it in perspective, the camera I'm using in this video that's shooting in black and white costs $390. Anyway, thanks for listening. The cop was taking his sweet ass time doing God knows what back in his cruiser. And yes, this was the actual amount of time I had to sit and wait before he even came up to my car. And unlike him, I wasn't getting paid to sit on the side of the road doing nothing. So I figured I'd make myself useful and share a dash cam recommendation. And like I always say, I don't care if you get the dash camera I recommend. I just care that you have a dash camera. And I care because of moments like this.
Don't worry, buddy.
Hey, good. How are you?
You got your license, registration?
Oh, yeah, it's in my pocket.
Go ahead.
Yep, cool, thanks. Hey, that's why I'm being pulled over?
Yep, you blew right through that stoplight right after the traffic stop that the borough was doing. It was actually red when you went through it.
Oh, are you sure?
100%. 100%. 100%.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I have a dash cam running, just so you know.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean,
I was going to say, if you want, when I'm
guess
in the car, you can go ahead and run it back.
And what? Stop recording a traffic stop with a cop that at worst I think is blatantly lying to me and at best doesn't know the difference between a red light and a green light? Nice try, Sherlock, but no shot I'm stopping this camera from rolling.
Oh, no, I mean, I guess I believe you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, license.
For the record, I did not believe him.
I'm an Uber driver. I'm working Uber
Okay.
tonight, so.
But there's just no sense in arguing about what happened when you have it on dash cam.
Here you go.
All right. And then your insurance
Oh,
and registration.
You know, I was hoping that once this guy saw my dash camera and my Uber app, he'd quit with the charade, give me a fake warning that really had a subtext of, sorry man, I was just lying. I wouldn't have pulled you over if I knew you were an Uber driver with a dash camera. But he stuck to his bit, and it got me thinking, maybe I did make a mistake. Unlike some people in this frame, I'm smart enough to always leave at least a little room for uncertainty. You know, memory is fickle. And then, of course, with my luck, it just happened to be the other side of midnight on the last day my insurance was valid.
oh, is it the 15th now? How does it work? It expires. I have it renewed today, but I think
Okay.
it expires. Is today the 14th or the 15th?
Today's now the 15th.
Not the 15th.
But it's all right. I can look it up through your
still
policy
good.
number, so I'll
Okay,
take
cool.
that.
And I still have no idea. Does that mean it's valid on the 15th and then expires on the 16th, or did it expire on the 15th? It always confuses me.
Oh, yeah, sweet. Yeah, actually, I just dropped somebody off in the Barnaby's garage,
Okay.
and I was looking to see if that was the guy that pulled out that, you know, they got. Because I saw that guy was with his lights out.
Okay.
So, I apologize if I didn't see that light. So,
That's all right.
sorry about that.
All right. My name is Officer Gardner. I'm just going to go run your information. I'll be back in a minute. All right?
Thanks a lot, Officer Gardner.
Now I'm thinking between that heartfelt apology and the fact that I drive for Uber, this cop would have to be a real piece of work to give me a ticket. Though I have encountered cops and received tickets like that before. But I had a very strong feeling that my dash camera would be enough to get this cop to do the right thing. Because think of it like risk reward. Say he's right. Say I ran a red light and he gives me a ticket. Cui bono? Who benefits? The borough of Westchester gets a few bucks that it's going to waste in typical bureaucratic fashion. And what the cop gets personally for doing that is the chance to go to bed at night knowing that he erased an entire night's pay of a guy out there just working Uber. And I sincerely doubt that's why he signed up to be a police officer. And there is no way that that reward, if you even call it that, outweighs the risk of him writing a ticket if there is video evidence proving otherwise. But what pisses me off about this situation is that if this cop were to come back and just issue a warning, which is actually what happens in the majority of traffic stops, for some reason, most people think that's a testament to the cop being nice, to the police doing good for the community. And it's like, I'm literally being held against my will For a police officer to prod and pry into things like my insurance and registration and shine his flashlight in my glove box looking for something else, even though that has nothing to do with stoplights or headlights or whatever else they pull you over for, all under the guise of trying to catch someone for something more important. Which, look, I would have no problem with that if it worked, but the thing is, it doesn't. Only 4% of traffic stops will lead to a search or an arrest for something that actually matters. Like, what other profession can only have a 5% hit rate and be considered successful? What if 95% of the times doctors recommended surgery, but after opening the body up, they said, actually, didn't need to do this, everything looks good? Or what if a lawyer lost 95% of their cases? Or what if a cashier only rang up 5% of the items in your cart? And I know you might say they're ridiculous comparisons, but what if firefighters busted out their trucks and hoses and pulled up to 100 houses and then afterwards admitted only 5 of them were on fire? The rest of them, we just gave warnings to the homeowner to not let their house catch on fire. You'd be like, maybe you should have gotten a little more information before sounding the alarm. And I don't say this to bash cops. I say this to bash traffic stops. It is one of the most dangerous things police officers do. So why are we asking them to do it when it is so incredibly inefficient? The juice ain't worth the squeeze. And look, I know some of you are thinking, will you stop talking already and get to the part where the cop comes back to the car and decides whether or not you're getting a ticket? Well, my friend, I am glad you're feeling that way, because if you haven't noticed, I'm still waiting for this cop to come back to my car and let me know whether or not I got a ticket. So if you're getting impatient, how do you think I felt at 3:30 in the morning when I just wanted to be in bed? That's why this is so frustrating, and this is the kind of stuff that goes on in people's heads when they are stopped, you know? Most people aren't leaving a traffic stop thinking, wow, this cop was really looking out for my best interest. Most people are leaving a traffic stop thinking, man, that cop's a real pain in my ass.
All right, Mr. Spiller, here's your information back.
Hey,
All right,
thank
I
you
was
very
able to run your insurance, and it is coming back valid.
Cool.
All right, I understand you're an Uber driver. I appreciate that. Just make sure you're looking at lights. All right?
Yeah, sorry about that.
You know, I understand there was a traffic stop right there, so I may distract you, but definitely make sure you go ahead and keep an eye on that because you don't want to get pulled over. So
Yeah, for
like
sure. Yeah, you know, I saw you make a U-turn, and I was like, did I do something wrong? I was like,
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So,
So, all right, make
Cool.
sure you keep an eye on it.
All right, man, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
I still didn't think I did anything wrong, but again, no sense in arguing, especially because the situation was over and had an outcome that did not involve me getting fined. And there is no doubt in my mind that the fact I had a dash camera is what prevented this cop from giving me a ticket. Like I said, I'm surprised he even took it that far to run my insurance and registration. I thought he was going to let me go the second I heard his voice crack when I told him I had a dash camera.
I have a dash cam running, just so you know.
Okay.
And I was too tired to check the tape after the traffic stop concluded, but still sure that I did not blast through a red light in front of 3 cops. I kept thinking about what happened, and before I even got home, I think I figured out why this cop pulled me over. And my theory was that it wasn't out of ill intent, which isn't to excuse it. If anything, you can say that makes it worse. But anyway, sure enough, when I did check the footage, not only was I right about the stoplight, but my theory on why Officer Gardner thought I ran the red light held water. And before I tell you what that is, I want to share a story I found about the cop who pulled me over. Naturally, I had to Google him before I made this video, you know, since I'm a reliable narrator who does his due diligence for a story. And I found this little post from Westchester's Facebook. Officer Gardner here, the same cop who literally pulled me over for running through a green light, was on the 2nd floor of the Chester County Justice Center garage late last month and observed an altercation between 2 men that involved the parking space. Gardner prevented the situation from escalating while awaiting assistance from the Westchester Borough Police. Now, I don't know how anyone could hear this story and not be happy that someone like Officer Gardner is patrolling the community. I mean, this isn't a cop poking and prying into people's cars over trivial matters, but it's a cop being available to stop trouble before it even starts, preventing it from escalating into something more consequential. I mean, nobody got hurt, nobody even got arrested in this scenario. Now imagine if instead of being in that garage, Officer Gardner was spending his time running the insurance and registration of an Uber driver who ran through a green light. He's not there to stop that fight in the garage, and it could have led to somebody getting seriously hurt and somebody else getting arrested and sent to prison, and that doesn't benefit anyone. And that's what drives me crazy about pulling people over for trivial traffic infractions. You take good people like Officer Gardner, who can and do make a difference in the community, and you force them to spend their time doing this inefficient, dangerous activity that leaves law-abiding citizens with a bad taste in their mouth about police. I mean, if I didn't find this story, my only impression of this cop is that he likes to harass Uber drivers because he's colorblind. Obviously, that's a joke, but you get what I'm saying. But that leaves the question. If he's such a good cop, why was he 100% sure
100%.
that I ran a red light when I didn't? Well, that brings us back to our Arkansonian friend that started this story with a police chase through town due to the simple mistake of not turning his headlights on in a well-lit garage. You see, the police know that there is always a risk of sparking a high-speed chase whenever they try to pull someone over. And instead of refraining from doing that in high traffic areas, what they do instead is use what's called a traffic signal preemption system. It's the same thing that ambulances and fire trucks use when they're on an emergency. They have a transmitter that sends a signal to all the traffic lights in the area. All the lights going in their direction turn green, and all the other lights turn red. That way, they can keep going and everyone else has to stop. So, as the police chased our friend from Arkansas, they made sure all his lights were green in case he decided to take off, and they made sure everyone else's was red so that they wouldn't get caught in the middle of the chase. That's why, because I was going the same direction as Arkansas and the police, my light was green. And though I can't see it, I'd bet dollars to donuts that, because he was facing the other way, Officer Gardner's light was red. He didn't realize this and assumed that my light was red as well. It makes you think about how many times you were absolutely sure of something,
Are you sure? 100%.
but because you didn't take into account the other person's perspective, you were all wrong. If you enjoyed this video and my style of storytelling, I would be thrilled if you checked out my book, The Unbelievable Stories of Driving Uber, now available as an audiobook as well. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.